On.
All right, well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us pretty late here as a post-game show of Lions Talk Live. Joining us tonight will be the Sarge, Tony Libretto. Sarge, did you see this happening coming in?
I'm gonna tell you what I did. I told y'all last week after the Chicago game that Denver's overrated, and a lot of people ripped me apart for that, but I don't care because I'm right. They were overrated. It's like the NBA. Every team goes on a run. For the NFL, it's more like they go on a run, they win a few games. Tonight, the Lions did what we know they can do, and that is score a lot of points. And the defense, we'll talk about the defense in a minute, I think, but I'm telling you, I did expect this. I of course I was concerned about the game because Denver is on a hot streak, but I also knew that Detroit wasn't done yet.
Talk about let's start with the offense, then we'll get to the defense. I'm sure everybody's going to want to talk about the defense, but Sarge, let's be honest. I'm not even really pumped right now. This was such a beat down. But hey, Jared Goff under nothing but fire for the last month or so. Obviously, it hasn't been the best of times for him for a multitude of reasons. But tonight, what a comeback! What a return of Detroit Goff, whatever you want to say.
Right.
Cool Goff, whatever. But how big was this for this offense? And let's be honest, and for Jared Goff to come out and have this type of performance.
He needed this, right? Coming with 3 games left. Basically, all these games are playoff games. I mean, let's be real. He needed to get right. This was definitely a get right game for Goff. I'm not, I said halfway through the season, I hope Goff is it retires a Lion. Like I might have overstepped that a little bit, but
right.
He's also, and again, I said last week after the loss, I still said, there's half the teams in the league would love to have Goff on their team because half the teams have backup quarterbacks right now.
Right.
And no matter, he is what he is. He might have some games that he doesn't play well, but there's a lot of teams that are fighting for playoff spots right now that have like their 3rd or 4th string quarterback in the game right now. And we still are lucky enough to have Goff, and he had a great game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. It's great having a good offensive line again, right?
It made a huge difference, didn't it? We've been talking, it seems like for a month now, that the offense had kind of gotten stagnant, that everybody, starting with that first Bears game, was jumping on the intermediate routes. People were questioning if Goff could throw it long anymore. A multitude of things. And the Lions did at least what I feel like they had to do early in this game. They were going to bust the defensive coverage, say, hey, you can't just play 2 guys basically in a spy package looking for the intermediate routes, overplay the flats, because we are going to start taking teams deep. They did that even though they didn't. They were forced to punt the first 3 drives. You could see how that forced Denver, especially with their safeties, to have to drop them both back because now they were more concerned about giving up a big play. Yeah. Let's also talk about the emergence of Jameson Williams. Sarge, what do you got? Because this kid, all of a sudden, he looks like he's something.
I didn't like the comments of the last 2 years, I guess, whatever. The last year, this year,
right?
I was always a firm believer in Williams. It was just part of it was we weren't getting him the ball. I think he's a playmaker. I really do.
I agree, man.
He had a hell of a catch today. It looked like he got a little roughed up. I don't know the result of that or anything, but he's a guy that we're going to be relying on for a long time. And, I enjoy watching him out there. A lot of people early on were saying he doesn't want to be on this team, but man, if he doesn't want to be on this team, he sure is making a lot of blocks for other guys.
Right.
He's certainly making plays when he can. And I'm happy, he's really emerging. And the best part of it is, his best games are yet to come, but he's also hitting right at the end of the season when we need him for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming together at the right time, and he looked like an NFL, I won't say elite receiver, but he looked like one
Yeah.
you're going to have to you really start planning for. Then you got
Mhm.
Laporta going off, setting a record for NFL rookie tight ends or whatever,
Hell
9
yeah.
touchdowns. I would almost say this: that last touchdown on 4th and 2, man, that almost felt like I'm rubbing it in on you. I'm kind of going to grind on you. These guys are supposed to be buddies because he got his coaching start for Sean Payton.
Right, right. That was a big storyline all week long. And all he did was talk mad respect for Sean Payton,
Right.
which he should. I mean, Sean Payton is Sean Payton. But at the end of the day, he's like, I'm gonna crush you. And he did.
And he did, man. And he did not hold back. Hey, we're going for it. And, good for them, man. They needed something, I think, emotionally, something like this. Coaching
Mhm.
staff, players, the whole shebang bang. If you're Minnesota right now, obviously they started the day off blowing a huge lead. Now
Yeah.
you got a hot Detroit team coming in. And again, we won't go outdoors until, somewhere deep in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We would have to, at that point, maybe go outdoors. But Detroit's going to be indoors for the rest of the time. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think we all agree that helps Goff in this offense. But now let's talk about the defense. Under fire for the vast majority of the year. We've talked
Mhm.
about a lot of different things that we should probably do. It was almost comical that I think it was like literally 3 weeks ago we were talking about taking Tracy Walker out as safety because his coverage skills, they're just not there. There's a lot of things
Mhm.
he does well, in my opinion, and everybody can have their own opinions. But we
Yeah.
talked about having Melifanu out there or Iffy out there along with Kirby Joseph. They did it last week, and today, man, that really seemed to make a big difference, along with having a couple other guys out there other than Jerry Jacobs all the time.
Mhm.
Sarge, what do you got?
Man, Melfanu made some great plays tonight. I think he got a sack. Didn't he get a sack earlier in the game?
I don't know about sack, but I know he got some hits.
I think he was credited with one. I'll have to go back and look at the stats, but I think he was credited with that sack. When Russ fumbled it.
You might be right, man.
Other than that, I mean, he had a great pass breakup down the field. And yeah, I mean, giving some of these other guys a chance to play has really shown. Maybe AG was a little stubborn early on in the year, and which we talked about, right? And I'll tell you, we were texting during the game, and I'm like, Bugs is making fucking freaking plays. Sorry, been drinking a lot today.
It happens.
Bugs has been making a lot of plays in the last 2 games that he's been back, and I'm like, did the beef? I texted you. I was like, did the beef cost us a couple of games? And now I'm thinking maybe it did. AG needs to, as a leader of that defense, it needs to maybe be like, man, I messed up, because Bugs was all over the place. Iffy was all over the place. Vildor had a great game, swapping in and out. I don't even know if I saw Jerry Jacobs make a play, but I know Vildor made a couple of plays. So maybe he's the guy going forward, which is fine if he's making plays. Yeah, Iffy was doing great. If he stays healthy, we talked about him, even me and you, obviously before the show a couple of years ago. We were like, man, this guy is good when he's on the field, but he couldn't stay healthy the first couple of years.
Right.
Now it looks like he's healthy as hell, and he's doing great. That pass breakup down the field where he knocked the ball out of I think it was a tight end.
Yep.
That could have been the play of the game, really. I mean, they were driving on that drive, and it just limited them to what they could do on that play or on that drive.
And what I like too, they started with the Saints game getting Jalen Reeves-Maybin more involved, especially on third down plays, because he can blitz, he can cover. He's a smaller backer that can shoot gaps and is harder for offensive linemen to pick up. I mean, you're asking a lot for a 6'3", 6'5" guy bend down and get displacement on someone like that. I think the use of him, and not just him, but you talk about Iffy, you talk about Vildor, you talk about Dorsey. They're moving a lot more guys around. Irvin in. I didn't like them dropping Irvin into coverage. I mean, let's be honest, he's here for a reason.
Play. We didn't talk about that during the game, but I was like, why is Irvin dropping 20 yards back in defense? It's not his job.
A dude. Let that dude do what he does. Go get the quarterback. And you don't have enough guys like him. But really, I mean, in a nutshell, I think somebody must have had a come to Jesus moment with Aaron Glenn or whatever happened. But I think he started toying around a week or two ago, starting figuring some things out. They can't just survive playing very passive, conservative defense. They don't have the type of personnel for that. They're going to have to take chances with the guys they got. And yes, Gardner Johnson's going to be back, whether it's next weekend or probably the weekend after that, somewhere in that time frame. My anticipation is Houston's going to be back because we go back to the stuff we reported, whatever, a couple weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. And then Campbell on Monday confirmed, was it CJ and Houston were basically on the same time frame. You got one of them back, so I'm guessing if Campbell already knew that ahead of time, Houston can't be too far behind. And again, you get another guy like Jalen Reeves-Maven, who's athletic, who's harder for offensive linemen to pick up. So especially on pass downs, obvious ones, Lions might start having a bit of a pass rush out here. They're going to be gambling a little bit more, but you know what? That was last year's defense. We're going to play a lot of man. We're going to put some pressure on some quarterbacks. You're going to have to beat us under fire. And man, at least me, I'm a fan of that. I hate passive stuff, man.
I totally, they gambled on a few plays that didn't work, but I'd rather that they tried and failed and than to try at all. They gambled that because a lot of those plays they gambled on, it did work. They did stop them. A lot of people were worried about, Russ is another mobile quarterback. He wasn't mobile at all today. And I think that's because they mixed it up. They blitzed corners, they blitzed safeties. They brought in, Goff. I saw a couple of plays where they moved Hutch inside and put Campbell on the edge. That's stuff that they need to do more often to confuse the offense and instead of just having Goff or Hutch on the edge just rushing every single time and never giving him a break or never moving the offensive line or defensive line around. I'm sorry. And just keep going, and they did it tonight and it worked. It worked against a decent offense. Like I said, I think I'm always going to say it. Denver was overrated when they started winning a bunch of games. Even the commentators at the game tonight towards the end were like, every good team has a down spell. 49ers lost 3 games in a row.
They did.
Dallas lost to Arizona Cardinals. Who lost? Pittsburgh lost back-to-back games against teams that only won 2 games. Good teams are going to lose still. No one goes undefeated, right? Unless you're the 73 Miami Dolphins.
72, greatest year ever.
Yeah, before I was born. 1 year. So, and if we're gonna it's a good thing to have our lull when we did. If they continue to win now, obviously on out. It's one game. But in the NFL, you have to go one game at a time. And for this game was a statement game. They played in prime time against Denver, a team that everyone in the in the league, not in the league like playing wise, but all the shows, all the NFL TV shows, right? They all were like, Denver is crushing it. They're the the team that is going to come from behind and make the playoffs, and we crushed them. I mean, it was. I think they only had 1 3 and out in the second half, but I think that was the only 3 and out in the whole game for our offense. I'm not. If there was one at the beginning of the game that I missed, I don't remember.
I'll just say this, man. So there's a lot of good things that build off this. Minnesota, I will say this. I mean, you're going to have a younger quarterback. Mm-hmm. Whether they stick with the kid who started today or go to Dobbs, I think both of them are probably. If I'm Minnesota's OC and DC right now, I'm probably paying attention to some things the Lions did. And really, the Lions Blitzburg that all of a sudden emerged today against younger, inexperienced quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That could be really something. And let's be honest, there's 3 games left. You're going to have probably not the most stable quarterback in Minnesota, no matter who they start.
Right.
The Lions could potentially get 2. I know just earlier today we're talking, hey, we just want, 2 wins out of these last 4.
Yeah.
Could they actually get 3 out of the 4? And if they get 3, there's at least some chance they get the number 2 seed. And what a difference that make, because you're going to be facing Minnesota, man,
Green
I
Bay.
don't know. Yeah, Green Bay or whatever. And I like our chances in that scenario, especially
Yeah.
getting CJ back and whoever else comes back. But it doesn't seem like they had any significant injuries today. I think we probably all held our breath with J-Mo when he had that one catch and he got rolled on, but he did go back on the field. I don't think he
Yeah.
caught on a pass, but he did run some routes. So I'm guessing he's okay there.
It's probably, yeah. And, watching the Minnesota game earlier today, Mullins probably had his career game today.
Right.
And they still lost, right? So, and that's not, obviously, maybe not his fault, but that was his career game. I don't think Mullins does that against us. If they switch back to Dobbs, I mean, Dobbs was their third guy today. He was relegated to off, not active and third, emergency quarterback.
Emergency quarterback, yeah.
So I don't think they know Dobbs isn't the answer. And Mullins had a good game today, so I feel like they'll still stick with him because he played well. But he had a career game today, really. And that was it. That's his ceiling. So I think we'll be okay next week. Their defense is still good. Minnesota's defense is almost elite. They're good. Yeah. We're gonna have to play a good game next week, but let's just cherish this one for the night.
Absolutely. Worry about that next week. But I will say this just because Derek had this. Bugs, any comments on AG? I'll just say this about Bugs. If they put him back inactive, I think that's just an insult to Bugs and what this defense could do. You can see last week the impact he had. Obviously tonight, the only nitpick I have is, man, dude, you're not running to the house of that ball, lateraling it over to one of those DBs and let them make a house call. Come on now.
Right. I know you're talking. Yeah.
I mean, somebody is going to catch you, but I mean, it's hard to talk a player into that. But other than that, it's really hard to nitpick what the defense did today. I mean, yeah, Denver did make some changes, but let's also be fair. The Lions played a little less aggressive at times in the second half, as they were probably trying to protect that lead and force Denver to clock, which they did. Denver, that one fourth down with like 8 minutes left and they punted. I was like, man, what the heck are you doing? You don't have that kind of time, but it is what it is, man. Right. All right. It's already closing in on midnight here. I guess we're about 24 minutes away. I got to be back on the air in the morning. Sarge, if you want to hop on at 7 a.m., you let me know.
Come on, man. What is that? 7 hours from now?
Yeah, not very far.
So. I'll tell you what. If I get up, I'll shoot you a text and let you know.
Fair enough. I want to thank everybody tuning in tonight for the post-game show. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. I think we're like 13 subscribers away from 4,800. Hit that like button. We'll be back on the air, at least me, at 7 a.m. Maybe Sarge will hop back on. We'll see. But
you're dedicated, man. You're dedicated.
Dedicated, man. Hey, one for the cause, man. So, anyways, hope you all have a great night. Hope the Lions put a smile on your face. And we'll see some of you, I'm sure, in the next Lions Talk Live tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody.